West Texas, we have a lot of people, but we have a lot of space between everybody. What would attract them to come to see us and hear our message? Books, literacy is a big issue. I mean, it certainly is a big issue in the schools, so books seemed like a good thing. You get to pick one book and keep it. I do believe that God has led me, and I believe very strongly this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm concerned for children, and it's my ministry. I feel it's part of my vocation, reaching people with the gospel and being a mirror, that they can look and see Jesus, in the things that I do.
Cypress Chapel exists to build community among those who know Jesus and those who don't yet know Jesus. The Shack. We just call it the Shack. What if being in an environment where speaking about Jesus, about one who has died for you, is foreign? Cypress Chapel was designed with those families, those individuals in mind.
Cypress Chapel came to take place at the Shack. There's some bad floodings, and they lost the gym over at St. John's, so they needed a place to meet, and we've got plenty of space. And so they came to the owner, Joe, and they said, hey, can we borrow your building? And we were more than happy to have them here. Some of our guests come in and they're drinking a beer and they're like, there's a church here? That's a little weird.
It's not about the physical area we're in, it's about the people we're worshiping together with. We are tearing down the traditional walls of a church, and that we're gathered here. It's in a restaurant/bar atmosphere, but it's still a church where we're worshiping and praising God together.
For those outside the church, there's mistrust, there's skepticism, there's fear, there's a sense that we are judgmental, and if the only platform we have is in our pulpits or in our Sunday school rooms or Bible study facilities in our classrooms, I think we're missing thousands and thousands of people in our own communities who will not meet us there. And so to break down those barriers is a long process.
I like playing soccer, it's my favorite sport. Just being there, playing, being active and playing with your friends.
La Paz starts in a church at Our Redeemer in Irving. We started kicking a soccer ball outside church. We started with probably 5-7 kids. We started making a soccer team from that group and grew up. The first month we already have like 50 kids ready to play soccer. It's not only about soccer, it's more than that. At the beginning of the game or at the end of the game, we have a prayer time. During the week, when the kids gather for a soccer practice, they have a devotion.
There used to be cussing and using a lot of bad words and get in trouble with the police and all that stuff. And now you can see the big change on this side. That's the main thing, to let the kids know who God is. They can trust God on anything.
Seeing their kids, their lives being changed because they feel part of a group of people and there is a safe place for them to express that they believe in God, they believe in Jesus.
Pero que se oiga, ¿ok? Hey, así como van a gritar La Paz, quiero que jueguen adentro del campo. Okay. 1, 2, 3. ¡La Paz!
Órale, con ganas, descansen.
There's a saying that people are more likely to have spiritual conversations walking out of a movie than they are walking out of a church. All right, let's take the church to the movies. To go to the storytelling center of our culture and tell the ultimate story and invite people into that is a beautiful thing.
When you meet someone on the street or at the farmer's market or at a sporting event, it's a lot easier to invite them to a movie theater than to invite them to a traditional church building.
The mission of the Acts Church Network is helping churches launch churches in the greater Austin area. We know from statistics that church planting is one of the most, if not the most effective way at reaching new people for Christ. The mission of every Acts Church is sending changed people into a changing world.
For us to be able to bring the gospel to people who aren't going to walk through the doors of our church anytime soon. I look at my generation where the majority of people in my generation would not classify themselves as religious, would not want to be a part of a local church, and I think, man, they are just missing out on the hope and the life and the joy that Jesus offers. That's why it's so important for us to go and tell.
It's so important to stay connected to the Word of God. That's where I get fueled again. That's where my passion gets reignited. And that's when I wake up and say, I want to make a difference, God, for what you're doing here.